Welcome to this very special episode of the Michele Tafoya podcast. Alan Dershowitz just joined me this morning to talk about Trump, to talk about what's going on the campuses all over the country with these anti-Israeli protests, pro-Palestinian. It's interesting. Have you noticed that some headlines call them pro-Palestinian and some headlines call the protests anti-Israeli? It's quite interesting, but it's been a tumultuous couple of weeks. The President of the United States finally came out this morning and made a statement. You'll get Alan Dershowitz's response to that as well. Alan Dershowitz has a new book out, by the way, and it is called Get Trump, The Threat to Civil Liberties, Due Process, and Our Constitutional Rule of Law. Alan Dershowitz is no Trump apologist. In fact, he'll tell you he voted for Biden in 2020. What he is defending is just what he says. The threat to civil liberties is his concern. The threat to due process is his concern. And the threat to the constitutional rule of law. Can you open your mind and hear his arguments, even if you absolutely hate Donald Trump, and understand the threat of this lawfare that's going on? Alan Dershowitz, one of the greatest attorneys of all time, 50 years with Harvard plus, can't speak on campuses now, you'll hear why, and so much more. He is our guest next.
Welcome to the Michele Tafoya podcast.
You know, at the heart of our very democracy lies one very crucial and treasured right, and that is the right to free speech. That's why the First Amendment was the First Amendment. It's the cornerstone of every freedom we cherish. But in today's digital age, discussions about our wealth, our rights, and our future are being silenced or overshadowed in mainstream narratives. And that's leaving a lot of people feeling voiceless in conversations that are crucial to our financial independence and security. And this is where wealth protection research steps in, armed with a mission that's never been more critical. Wealth Protection Research is not a financial advisory firm. They are defenders of free speech, committed to giving a voice to those who have been silenced. Wealth Protection Research tirelessly seeks out financial experts. These are the voices that challenge prevailing narratives, especially as we navigate the uncertainties of the 2024 election. Wealth Protection Research has created a 2024 Election Wealth Protection Report. This free report highlights the 3 best ideas for protecting and growing your money heading into the 2024 election. It contains ideas the mainstream media won't touch, and listeners can get it completely free. Here's how. Text IDEAS, IDEAS, to 76626 to get your free copy. If you believe in the sanctity of free speech and the importance of financial freedom, act now. Text IDEAS to 76626 to get your free copy of this 2024 election protection report. It is time to widen the scope of what we're told, to hear the ideas the establishment doesn't think you can handle, but of course you can, and to take control of our financial destinies. Text IDEAS to 76626 to claim your free copy. Coming up next, the one and only Alan Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz, it's a privilege to have you with us. I want to talk about your book for sure, because I think it's hugely important. I would like to get your thoughts on the current state of affairs on campuses across the United States. You're a professor. You've been associated with Harvard for over 50 years. Harvard certainly had its issues. Columbia, UCLA got pretty out of control overnight. What do you make of what's going on these college campuses?
Well, first, let me start with the president's statement. I commend the president finally for speaking directly on this issue, but it's too little, too late. He should have done this days ago. He should have done it more forcefully, and he should have threatened the potential use of the National Guard if things get out of hand. And he should have been more unequivocal in condemning so many of the anti-American protesters as well as the anti-Israel protesters. What I worry about is that some of these protesters will become terrorists. I know that for a fact because I represented protesters in the late 60s, early 70s. I represented the defendants, some of them in the Dr. Spock case and the Chicago 7 case at Harvard. And some, not all, not most, but some of those people who were protesters became terrorists. Kathy Boudin, for example, started out as a protester. She then joined the Weather Underground, murdered 4 policemen. And guess what happened to her after she served her sentence? She went to teach. Where? Columbia University. She also was trying to blow up Fort Dix, an American military base. And she blew up her house on 12th Street, killing some people in the house making bombs. So I worry that some of these useful idiots, and particularly some of the outside agitators who are professional anti-American, anti-Western protesters, can easily be groomed and seduced into planting a bomb for Hamas. So it's coming to a theater near you, and I think we should be on guard against another 9/11.
Let me drill down on that story you tell about Columbia hiring Boudin. I wonder who in that administration thinks it's a good idea to bring on someone who committed such crimes.
Can you imagine a school being approached by somebody saying, look, I'm a former Klansman. I lynched 4 black people, but I've been rehabilitated, and I'd like to teach a course on racial relations. So they would laugh at him. They'd probably call the police and arrest him. It would never happen under any circumstances. This is because a lot of people at universities today support left-wing terrorism. They admire people like Kathy Boudin, people from Chicago as well, who are friends with President Biden, were terrorists, were involved in terrorist organizations. And it's going to happen again and again and again. And we're glorifying these useful idiots who are chanting. One of them said, I don't think Zionists should live. Yeah. Another blocked Zionists from coming in. What's a Zionist? The Zionist is 80% of Americans who believe that Israel has the right to exist. That's all a Zionist is. You don't have to be a supporter of Netanyahu or of the current government to be a Zionist. You just think Israel has the right to exist the way France has the right to exist, and the way maybe a Palestinian state will someday have the right to exist if they stop engaging in terrorism. But they're not going to have a state if they use the state as a launching pad the way Hamas did on October 7th to rape, murder, and kill. And women, so many radical women are at fault here. I see so many people from the Me Too movement saying, Me Too except if you're a Jew. No, where's the evidence? Don't believe women if they're Jewish. You hear a lot of that going on. So there's a tremendous amount of hypocrisy.
And it seems there are no consequences for this, right? Some of these children, activists, will do the things that they've done, break into buildings, the Alexander Hamilton building on the campus of Columbia, do the things that they did at UCLA. And because we know there are some outside agitators among them, but there are certainly students involved, why won't these administrations expel them?
They should, and there will be consequences. Let me tell you why. We're starting a new organization called Hurt a Jew, We Sue You. And we're not going to wait for the prosecution to bring cases because some of them will drop the charges. We're trying to find out the names of anybody, any student or any agitator who hurt a Jew or anybody else. It can be a Christian Zionist, anybody else. And we will get their names and we will file a lawsuit against them. They may not be rich. They may have trust funds, but they may have a car. They may have a boombox. They may have an iPhone. We're going to take it all away from them. We're going to sue them, and we're going to get discovery, and we're going to find out who's funding all of these things, and we're going to notify every employer, every potential employer, do you want to hire a lawyer who believes in raping Jewish women? No, I don't think so. I don't think your clients would like that. And so there are consequences, and we're going to hold these young people's feet to the fire. You're entitled to protest. You're not entitled to wear a mask to hide your identity. You're entitled to wear a mask to prevent COVID, but these kids aren't wearing COVID masks. They're wearing masks to prevent their identity from being known. But we're going to find out. We'll do investigations. We'll find out who you are and who's hiding behind those masks. And we will put it online. There's already a group called Canary that's doing that. And I can tell you, if you know the name of anybody who attacked, harassed, threatened, hurt a Jew, send me their name and their contact information, and we will file a lawsuit.
I heard you say that you would represent pro bono in many cases, some of these students.
Well, I have my cases pro bono, so yeah, this would be a pro bono case. Yeah.
You're quite enthusiastic and passionate about this for obvious reasons. I think it's about time some people, some grown-ups, show up into the room. I love grilled food. I absolutely love it. Grilled fish, salmon's one of my favorite. Vegetables, chicken, whatever you like to grill. What I don't love is sometimes how long it takes. And that's where this grill comes in, folks. The last grill you'll ever need to buy. It's the Solaire infrared gas grill. So you may already have a low temperature, slow cooking smoker or an egg pellet barbecue, but in the middle of your busy week, you don't have that kind of time. But that's why you go with the Solaire infrared gas grill. This heats up in 3 minutes to 1,000 degrees, even on cold winter nights. And that kind of heat, it locks in the juices and the flavor. The sear on the outside it's amazing. It grills food faster. In just a few minutes, you're going to be sitting at the table, just as we have done, enjoying delicious, better than restaurant quality grilled food. I have been amazed with this product. I'm serious. The taste is notably different than our previous grill. Solaire is a multi-generational, veteran-owned business. Their portables, carts, and built-ins are all made in the USA, and you can get your free guide, How to Choose the Right Infrared Grill, at besthotgrill.com, besthotgrill.com. Also, you can try before you buy. They'll send you a loaner to give it a try, this one small little grill that we've been using, to give it a try and see if it's right for you, which it will be. besthotgrill.com, besthotgrill.com. Don't forget, you get to try before you buy. besthotgrill.com. It doesn't seem like there are grown-ups in this other part of New York with this case against Donald Trump. Now, no one has to be a quote-unquote apologist for Trump. You can think whatever you want of the former president, but it does seem like this is some sort of circus that is going on, and it speaks very poorly of the judicial system in New York. How did this trial come about? I've heard everyone say it's ridiculous and there's no crime there. So how does something like this come to fruition?
I think you just insulted circuses. I used to go, this isn't a circus. This is a horrible destruction of something we fought for 250 years to protect, the rule of law. This is the worst case I've seen in 60 years of teaching, writing, practicing criminal law. There is no crime here. Let me just describe to you in 30 seconds what the theory is. There used to be a crime. It's called filing a false statement on a corporate form. It's a minor misdemeanor, but it's barred by the statute of limitations. That's the only crime, barred by the statute of limitations. In order to try to resurrect it, the district attorney Bragg said, but he committed this barred misdemeanor in order to commit another crime. I'm not going to tell you what crime it is, but it's something to do with being elected president. Now, the federal government has said, no, there was no federal crime. The Federal Election Commission said, no, there wasn't a federal election law violation. But Bragg says there may have been, and I don't have to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. All I have to do is prove that by a preponderance. So what I'm going to do is take an expired misdemeanor, I'm going to add a non-applicable felony, and I'm going to bring about a trial which is involving no crime whatsoever. The judge should dismiss this case out of hand. He should have asked, why is Pecker testifying? He's not testifying to a crime. Why is McDougal going to testify? Why is Stormy Daniels going to testify? There are no crimes. The only crime is barred by the statute of limitations. So I've never seen a case like this. But if you believe CNN, if you listen to CNN, this is the most serious and compelling case since the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, if it had been on videotape. There's no doubt about this. This is such a strong case. And you have all these phony commentators on CNN, on MSNBC, who are part of the problem. They're complicit in Get Trump. They're making up legal arguments, including some Harvard law professors are doing it because they're so determined to get Trump. They don't care about civil liberties, civil rights, the rule of law, and the Constitution.
They are saying the ends justify the means, and I'm wondering, because you're certainly no Trump supporter.
No,
Am I right about that?
I voted against him in the last election. I voted for Biden. I have an open mind as to who I'm going to vote for this time.
And so, why is this so important to you? I feel it in my bones, but I want you to tell our viewers why this matters so much.
Because today it's Trump, tomorrow it's a Democrat, and the day after tomorrow it's your uncle or aunt or your child. If the government is allowed to abuse the legal system in this way without consequences, and there should be consequences, the district attorney of New York and the attorney general of New York should be called in front of the Bar Association to demand how they exercise their discretion. First question is, would you have brought a case like this if his name was not Donald Trump? Have you ever brought a case like this? Is there a single case in the history of America since Alexander Hamilton paid hush money when he was Secretary of Treasury? Has there ever been a case which somebody was charged for not disclosing hush money? Think about that. Would anybody ever pay hush money if you had to disclose it? And paying hush money.
What's the point?
Awful. It's an absurd case.
Yeah. It certainly feels that way. What is your expectation? What do you think this jury does?
This is New York, and so there's a possibility of a hung jury. If you get 2 or 3 jurors, one juror is not enough. Usually one juror can be persuaded by 11 others. But I don't think there'll be an acquittal. I think there'd be an acquittal if it were in almost any other state other than, a big blue state like California. But I think it will be reversed on appeal. The New York Court of Appeals recently reversed, in a very courageous move, the Harvey Weinstein conviction. I participated in that case as a consultant, and it was a 4-3 decision. But they did it on the ground that all the evidence was introduced about women who weren't part of the charges against him, and that the court couldn't allow all that evidence to come in. The same thing is true here. So I would think that the New York Court of Appeals, citing the Weinstein case, would actually reverse a conviction in which there was so much evidence of non-criminal behavior, non-charged criminal behavior. But, one can't make predictions when Donald Trump's involved.
Well, that is for sure. And you mentioned that nothing like this has ever happened before that you have seen. It is astonishing to me that this man has sparked this kind of outrage from the opposition. And it's, can you put your finger on why?
Yeah, he's very provocative. He says things that he shouldn't say. He's his own worst enemy in some ways. He's also his own best friend. Sometimes he does very smart things in terms of challenging the gag order and things of that kind. But every so often he'll say something that provokes so many people. I used to have a cadre of friends on Martha's Vineyard, people I helped enormously, helped Larry David's daughter get into college. I helped so many people. None of them on Martha's Vineyard will talk to me because I defended Donald Trump on the floor of the Senate. They think I'm Goebbels, that I was Hitler's accessory to genocide. That's how strongly these one-sided zealots on Martha's Vineyard feel, and there are many of them in New York. I know. I have friends. I have relatives who say, how could you possibly defend Donald Trump? They didn't care that I defended O.J. Simpson. They didn't care I defended Klaus von Bülow. They didn't care I defended porn star Harry Reams. They didn't care Nazis. But Donald Trump, that's beyond the pale. You can't defend Donald Trump because he may be our next president.
I wonder if I can ask you on a personal level how that's been for you, because you have been an esteemed attorney for, like we've talked about, decades. And to have people turn their backs on you this way, it's not necessarily Donald Trump that you're defending, it's the law that you're defending.
I didn't mention Donald Trump's name once in my argument in the Senate. I talked about the presidency. I talked about the Constitution, but obviously I was doing it on behalf of Donald Trump. Look, it's hurt my reputation. I can't speak on colleges today. I used to speak on 20, 25 colleges a year. I can't speak at any college because my physical safety would be threatened, and it's taken a real toll on my wife and my family, more than me. I have a thick skin. I went into this with my eyes open, but the toll it's taken on my family has been inexcusable. And it's, again, just because I followed the Sixth Amendment to the Constitution, that people have a right to a criminal defense or a defense.
The book is Get Trump, The Threat to Civil Liberties, Due Process, and Our Constitutional Rule of Law, Alan Dershowitz. Again, it's about civil liberties. It's
Yep.
about process. It's about the rule of law. And so I commend you for having that thick skin and for being a voice of what's right in this. Thank you so much for your time, sir. We really
Thanks.
appreciate it.
It's a very good interview. I appreciate it.
You know that I am, and I think we all are, I think most of us are big into the First Amendment. We love our freedom of speech, the right to peaceful protest, the right to say whatever we say, and the right to not be compelled to say anything. Well, yeah, that First Amendment is the cornerstone that supports every freedom we cherish. But now we're living in this digital world, right? So discussions about our wealth and our rights and our future, you may have noticed they're being silenced or overshadowed or shadow banned in mainstream narratives. And that leaves a lot of people feeling like they don't have a voice in these conversations that are critical to our financial independence and security. So let me introduce you to Wealth Protection Research, armed with a mission that's never been more critical. Wealth Protection Research, what are they? They're not a financial advisory firm. They're defenders of free speech and committed to giving a voice to those who've been silenced. Wealth Protection Research tirelessly seeks out financial experts. Now, these are the voices that challenge the prevailing narratives, especially as we man these waters, these uncertain waters of the 2024 election. Wealth Protection Research has created a 2024 election wealth protection report. It's free. It highlights the 3 best ideas for protecting and growing your money heading into the 2024 election. It contains ideas the mainstream media won't touch, and listeners can get it completely free. Text IDEAS to 76626. IDEAS to 76626. Get your free copy. If you believe in the sanctity of free speech and the importance of financial freedom, then act now. Text IDEAS to 76626. Get your free copy of the 2024 Election Protection Report. It is time to widen the scope of what we're told. Hear the ideas the establishment doesn't think you can handle, but of course you can, and take control of our financial destinies. Text IDEAS to 76626 and get your free copy. So think about Alan Dershowitz, one of the wisest, smartest, most well-educated, clearest thinking lawyers in the history of the United States. 50 plus years associated with Harvard. Now he's emeritus. And other campuses won't have him speak. And it's not because he's a rah-rah Trump supporter. It's because he's a supporter of the law that all of these other people are trying to use against the former president. See, just as he said, this isn't about Trump. This is about who's next. This trial going on in New York has been such a joke. If you listen to really smart attorneys, New York attorneys, DC attorneys, professors, law professors, legal minds, they don't know where there's a crime here. So it's hard to imagine why this trial is going on. So whether or not you like Trump, that's really not the point here. This is about, imagine if you're being corralled into a courtroom for something that is not criminal. And you have to go and defend yourself and you're looking around going, what? Now, as Dershowitz said, there are some people who will try to tell you that this is an important legal case. But I think he makes a very good case as to why it's not. Now, as for his stance on Israel and the like, look, I'm not surprised to see protests on campuses. I was at UC Berkeley. I saw a protest every other day during my 4 years of attendance there. I was there when the apartheid protests were in Sproul Plaza. when they wanted the University of California system, the regents, to divest from South Africa, which they were successful in doing. Those were peaceful protests. No one got hurt. What we're seeing right now is disgusting. What they're doing to a class of people on these campuses is disgusting. By the way, after one particular riot at UC Berkeley, I don't know, 5-7 years ago, where there was broken glass, Antifa, people spraying pepper spray in other people's eyes, I sent my diploma back to UC Berkeley because what they were doing at the time was preventing conservative speakers from speaking on campus. And they were using violent means to raise their voices. I didn't want to be associated with that. So I would encourage anyone who is disgusted with Columbia, with Harvard, with UCLA, with Northwestern, to maybe think about not only pulling your funding, but sending your diploma back. I mean, I don't know if you really still need it on your wall at this point, if you're proud of it. What's going on at our universities is it's terrifying that this number of people are willing to put themselves out there and say the things they say. They're not just saying free Palestine. They're saying go back to Poland, go back to the gas chambers. Zionists don't deserve to live. That's not peaceful. And we wouldn't accept it against any other class of humans. Why is this different? And I keep going back to shortly after October 7th, when we heard from a relative of one of the hostages. He said, it's not going to end here. And it's not just about Israel. You will be next. You will be next. We were attacked on September 11th. You really don't think it's going to happen again? And by the way, Joe Biden, if you want to bring over Palestinians, you better vet them a hell of a lot better than you vetted all the people that you've brought in across the border illegally. I don't know. This is a really scary time. And it disgusts me that the universities don't have more of a spine. They're incompetent. They're feckless. They're feeble. They're negotiating with these people. They're negotiating with these agitators, who, by the way, are including in some of their lists of demands the Green New Deal, defund the police. What does that have to do with Palestine? Nothing. You find out about what's going on around you. And if you can, take some action. I know it takes some bravery, but you'll be on the right side of history. Be brave, do good, and we'll see you next time.